Hello everybody, and welcome. My name's Igor, aka Woodhawk, aka one half of TwoIneptGamers, and welcome to the channel if it's your first time here. If you're one of those subs, one of those 154 subs I believe that Tom and I earned 2 years ago, welcome back. I apologize for not uploading videos in such a long time. Tom and I have uploaded a separate video, or will be uploading a separate video, in which we explain why we haven't uploaded anything in that long, and why we're back now. But that's a different story for a different video. What's going on in this video is Let's Play Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition for the PC, and the reason I'm doing this now is because I figure this game's going to become kind of dated after Dark Souls 2 releases for the PC, and that sort of spreads out to all areas of the community and the fan base. So I thought, why not give Dark Souls this one last hurrah before it is taken over in my life by Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls is one of my all-time favorite games. I've played a huge, incomparable amount of it, which is why this Let's Play is not going to really be the kind of, look, hey, watch me die and get murdered by, hollows for 30 minutes. Instead, I'll be going quite quickly, burning through most of the game. Deaths will happen because I'm not perfect. I can't apparently spell Woodhawk, but that's irrelevant. Woodhack will do. I'll be playing as a Wanderer because my favorite way to play this game is running it Dex style, which is basically putting all my points, all my attribute points into Dexterity and increasing my proficiency with Dex weapons. The tiny head is incredibly necessary, as is the silly-ass smile that you get with the Far East Traveler head. I think we're going to go for bobbed head, bobbed hair. I think red. Red is good. Red's a good color. It fits with the smile and the threatening eyes.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty gods peeled apart their stone skills. Witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath, the Scaleless, betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark sign. Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
And there you have it. That's Dark Souls. That's the story you're shown at the beginning. And while all this might seem a little bit daunting to start off with, I'll take this time we're given in the tutorial to basically walk you through the basics of the game and the basics of the story. So as you saw there, the humanity sprouted up underground and was given godlike powers. They overthrew the dragons, which kept control of the overworld and murdered people who dared come to the surface. And we exist in the aftermath of that, and Dark Souls is very much that kind of game. It is set in the aftermath of a lot of things that have happened. That's why a lot of things are the way they are, like for example the last boss, if you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, well, we'll get there in due time. Now, if you have absolutely no idea what you're looking at, then I'm sorry. But if you need to know, Dark Souls is a third-person RPG, much like any other. Kill enemies, get XP, get currency, make your weapon better, make your items better, make yourself better. Really a story of self-improvement. And yeah, that's one of the big basics of the game. Basic mechanics. That bonfire I just lit, those are our checkpoints. There are safe zones essentially for this game. Whenever we rest at one, all of the enemies respawn. That's where Dark Souls gets its unique sense of difficulty. Now I mentioned Dex earlier, and if you're wondering what Dex is, if you can buy it in real life, that kind of stuff, no. But Dexterity is what Dex stands for, and it's our statistic that determines essentially our proficiency with the weapons we use. Things like in this game are Strength, Faith, and Intelligence, which all determine how well you basically perform in combat with specific weapons. The Scimitar scales extremely well with Dexterity, etc. If you're wondering why I just so fecklessly killed that guy who was just sort of sitting there, it's just save time, really. He gives you a little monologue about how you have to finish his quest for him. You never actually say anything in this game, which is quite interesting. You're always just being talked at. But yeah, we're just sort of wrecking everything in front of us right here. Admittedly, we've killed 2 hollows, which are essentially the weakest enemies in the game. Took an arrow in the back, so this isn't going well. I'm off form. I'm horribly off form. But yeah, Dark Souls, typical RPG. And as common with any RPG, you can take arrows and then I cannot give a crap. And bosses! And here's our first boss, the Asylum Demon. The Asylum Demon exists to make sure that undead, like the player character, don't escape from the Undead Asylum. because undead are horrifying to the gods that were mentioned in the beginning. The Witch of Izalith, Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, Seath the Scaleless in particular, and Nito of the Gravelords. And this guy's basically here to stop us, but he's not really doing that good of a job because we've played this game for 300 hours and we know what we're talking about. And with that we get our big Pilgrim's Key and we are free from the Undead Asylum. We are told that we are the chosen undead, and I'll explain to you why the community, myself included, think that that is a bunch of crap. Because the story in this game is fantastic, but it's incredibly ambiguous, and a lot of it is left up to the player to discover, which is one of the best things about it. It's one of the embodiments of this game's implicit design. It's implicit in story as well as gameplay.
In the ancient legends, it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the Undead Asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
And with that, we enter the game proper. And immediately, if you have not played this game before, it is wildly confusing because from the get-go, it is completely open world. And completely, you can just choose whichever way you go. You give him very basic instructions. I think we're going to put some points in dexterity right now. Get our damage up on the scimitar, which is not going to be our primary weapon. But let's talk to the crestfallen adventurer over here.
Well, what do we have here? You must be a new arrival. Let me guess. Fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first. But there's no celebration here. You'd have done better to rot in the Undead Asylum. But too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are, actually, 2 bells of awakening. One's up above in the Undead Church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blight Town. Ring them both, and something happens. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you. So, off you go. It is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land of the undead?
So basically, Sir Smartass over here tells us that we have 2 ways to go, up and down. Now, I think a lot of players are completely aware of what happens next, which is they begin to walk around this little area here. They see an area that goes down, and they walk into the graveyard, which is full of horrifying skeletons that revive and are seriously not fun to fight. But we're going there later anyway, because one of the weapons necessary for this build, this character, is present there. And speaking of weapons, the first thing we're going to do before we even get into any action is pick up our first weapon. And if I'm not mistaken, it is down this flight of stairs, and down another flight of stairs, and down an elevator. And that takes us down to New Londo, which seems mysterious now, but wait for it. We'll get there in time. The game's going to progress. We're going to find out why there's a new Londo. We actually do. We will go to the first Londo. But the weapon we're looking for is the Estoc. Now the Estoc is a rapier-like weapon. It scales very well with dexterity, and it's fantastic for this build. It works really well early on. It deals a lot of damage. It doesn't have any bleed associated with it, I don't think, but that's not necessary to beat the early bosses of the game, just because they all have quite little health. I don't know. I think I've forgotten where the Estoc is. I think it might be here. Yeah, here it is. The Estoc. So pop up in our inventory, change equipment, And the Estoc does 75 damage, which is less than our Scimitar. But, as you can see, oh my god, it actually has worse scaling. Okay, so we're sticking with the Scimitar. I did not see that coming. I think what it is that the Estoc has better scaling than the Scimitar when you upgrade it. But yeah, I guess we're gonna stick with the Scimitar for now. Nah, you know what, actually, we're going to the Estoc. We're manly men, we've played this game before, we know the ins and outs. However, I completely forgotten how to use this weapon. Yeah, we'll be fine. So now, we will take Sir Smartass's advice, and we'll go up. Because up will take us to our first Bell of Awakening, which we have to ring to awaken something. What that something is, you'll find out later. And that's another big element of the plot. That's one of the elements of ambiguity, is the thing which you awaken tells you a lot of stuff, and it's heavily implied that you're being used and manipulated, and that what you actually want of your own will is actually completely irrelevant. You're really just a pawn in the greater scheme of things. And we have some hollow soldiers here, basically the cannon fodder of this game. Some of the most basic enemies. They tend to just hit you with swords, throw firebombs, and die a lot. That guy there is particularly annoying. Of course, the leap attacks. Lots of different attacks in Dark Souls. It's one of the things that gives it a lot of niche. Is you have an attack after you roll, you have an attack after you run, you have an attack after you... We have an attack in which you jump. There's all sorts. The combat is very, very fun to use. You can dual wield your... Sorry, oh Jesus. You can two-hand your weapon, you can one-hand your weapon, and when you're one-handing your weapon, you can parry. And parrying does an assload of damage. That's why the Estoc's fun as well, because I believe it gains bonus crit damage, and even if it doesn't, even if I'm just full of crap again, whatever. We'll pick up a soul over here, Soul of Lost Undead. The number in our bottom right is the amount of souls we're carrying right now. When we die, we drop all of those souls, and if we don't pick them up by our next death, they're gone forever. Number in the top left represents our humanity, and our humanity boosts certain stats, and if we reverse our hollowing, which means truly become human, we can be invaded by other players, which is not something you really want to expose yourself to, especially in an area this early on in the game, where dark wraiths show up and punch you in the ass until you die, which really isn't fun at all. Seriously. Although, when you do it, it's actually hilarious, and it's one of the best things about this game. Oh, good times. We'll pass through the white fog, which acts kind of like a barrier, just to sort of signal that something big is going to happen after this. And lo and behold, a dragon! Don't mess with this dragon, seriously. Seriously, trying to kill that thing is unbelievably difficult. I'm not even sure how you're expected to do it. Even for a game like Dark Souls, it's just ridiculously difficult. But that's where the challenge lies, I guess. I'm really just gonna speed through this as fast as I can now. We're gonna go stop by the bonfire, get our Estus flasks back. We haven't actually used any. Get our health back. Reset our checkpoint. I think we can put a couple more points in dexterity. Get that up there. At the beginning of the game, I'm not sure if you were being that astute, paying that much attention, but we took a Master Key as our starting gift. And that's going to allow us to explore a lot of interesting areas in Dark Souls. Before we're actually allowed to, or meant to. Which means we can get some kind of interesting loot. I'm really taking a beating over here. Underestimating the hollows. Everything in this game is dangerous, especially in the beginning. Especially when you're level 7 with, you know, basically pajama armor. And the one thing I forgot to mention, I forgot to get, is the Residence Key. Which we need to get an item that's going to trivialize the first boss fight for us. It's going to make it, oh, so much easier. You don't even know. Well, if you haven't seen any of the videos, you probably won't know, because we are going to one-shot that Capra Demon? No. Taurus Demon. Parry this fool. You just punch his spear away. I mean, really, when they're just sort of shuffling around like this, I don't see why we can't just sort of grab that spear. I mean, look, we're like, my hand's basically on it. Ah, whatever. Parry him. Stab him with the Estoc. Oh, the Estoc is such a wonderful weapon. Now, if you break these boxes, go down this flight of stairs, you will find yourself a creepy-ass merchant. He sells you stuff.
Well now, you seem to have your wits about you, hmm? Then you are a welcome customer. I trade for souls. Everything's for sale.
The laughs. Every character in Dark Souls has this horrifying laugh that just sends chills down your spine. But we're not actually going to buy anything from him.
What a waste of time.
We are
fall off a cliff.
gonna horribly murder him. If we can actually get to his face. There we go. Of course, he just pulls an Uchigatana, that sword out of nowhere. It's actually one of the best weapons in the game. If you see that bar filling up there, that is my bleed meter. You get a lot of items from killing this guy. When the bleed meter fills up, we take a massive amount of damage, and that's one of the best things about the Uchigatana, who he calls Yulia, by the way. A lot of people aren't sure if he's talking about his daughter, his wife, his sister, his brother, because he had really cruel parents. I don't know. He's talking about the Uchigatana, his sword, which makes that character even creepier.